So welcome, Robbie.
Hey there. Good to see you.
So this week being the Charlie Haden Artist in residence, um, you were on the list of people that Charlie's wife Ruth and I came up with as likely people to do this right at the beginning, and I'm so happy that we got to do it this year. And our students have been really happy. Um, the spirituality of improvisation is the title, and it's because Charlie was very spiritual about improvisation and music, and as well as his relationship with Alice Coltrane, your mom. Um, and and can you talk a little bit about how this week has gone for you? And we've done 2 days already. The first day was focusing on your music. Second day was focusing on Alice Coltrane's music. This afternoon we're going to focus on Charlie Haden and his music. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, first of all, it's been just a great pleasure and a great honor to be invited to be a part of this residency. Charlie was like a father figure, like a mentor. He was a mentor to me, and I wouldn't have known about CalArts if not for Charlie. I knew about the school, but I didn't know about the program. I didn't know that things were happening here. And when I got interested in music and wanting to learn and study, my mother said, go study with Charlie, you know. So Charlie was the reason, that I came here. Also, Charlie, just, he's someone whose name I've heard my entire life, and, to be able to encounter him here, in the early part of my musical journey, if you will, was, eye-opening and life-changing. And after leaving CalArts and getting a music career started, I had many opportunities to work with Charlie then, so almost like a full circle moment. And I'm completely honored to be here for this week. Thanks to you and to Ruth Cameron for thinking about me.
And how do you see the students that you've been working with this week compared to your memories of being here?
There's something very seamless. I was here in the 80s, and it's almost as if it were yesterday, really. There's a beautiful continuity that just continues on in obviously the faculty, but the energy and the vibration that gets passed down to the students. CalArts has its own thing. It's a very specific feeling, a very specific vibe. It attracts a very specific type of artist. And it still feels like, the times that I was here.
That's wonderful. Well, there's always a spirit of adventure and spontaneity that isn't a lot of the time present in other school programs.
Oh yes, that's very, very true.
And that's really good. It's always trying to get a balance between getting a solid foundation without losing that spirit of adventure and creativity. But you've been so great working with everybody this week. Yesterday with Alice Coltrane music, that really got someplace really special.
Yes,
and you could feel it in the room.
Definitely.
It was a very inspiring moment that I know everyone will remember for a long time.
I hope so. I'll remember it as well. It was nice to, her music has such a kind of warm and welcoming quality. It is like very divine and spiritual music that people can feel. It has a real vibration to it, and the students they went to it very quickly and played beautifully.
And it was a really good feeling in the room where everybody really felt included. Which is very important and really sometimes hard to achieve.
Yep.
But you really got there. I also felt like you have a really interesting teaching style in that you're very clear and very direct and honest, but also very kind and really gentle with people, and it was very, very effective. I'm wondering, how much do you teach?
I think that style that you're speaking of comes from just being a band leader, and forming groups and trying to maintain those groups over many, many years. It's like relationships,
Mhm.
and early on, leading bands, I I recognized that I needed to have a specific approach if I wanted to get a certain response from the musicians, you know, um, and it's a very delicate thing to tell a person how to play or what not to play. But you still have to kind of achieve your goals as a band leader, for what you want for the music and what you want for the presentation of the band, So I learned how to you know to be as open and welcoming to their ideas, and it's like it's nice to say, well, that's one approach. Think you can think about it in different ways.
Mhm.
You can actually do the same thing you're doing right now, let's say musically or technically, but just take a different perspective on it. Look at it, from another angle. Um, you know, I as long as you're saying don't do that because it's not happening, and do something else,
Right.
because there's again ways to achieve that, and how it works within leading bands. I feel it's the same in a teaching situation.
It's
You know,
very similar. So how much of that do you think comes from your time working with Charlie here?
a lot of it, a lot of it. Charlie was just such a kind and generous human being. But he was specific.
Yes, he was.
He definitely kind of knew what uh, you know where things needed to be. But he wasn't a real taskmaster. He wasn't like trying to whip people into shape. He was trying to kind of bring us along, right? And there are ways to do that. Where you do feel included. You don't get offended by the approach.
But I remember lots of times when Charlie would maybe we would be working on Ornette Coleman music or something like that, and everyone would assume that it's very open and very free,
Mhm.
and they'd treat it like that.
Right.
And Charlie would stop, man, no, man,
He has a form. You gotta
no,
play the
man,
form.
that's not right, man. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All the time. And he always had an idea about how to make it more right,
Mhm.
but without losing your own ideas and your own personality.
Yeah, because that's so much a part of it, really. You don't want to try to turn a musician into someone that they're not.
Right.
I've been in situations early on, again, situations that I learned from, where I remember asking a drummer not to play 4/4 on the hi-hat. And it was like, this is what I do. This is how I approach, playing the swing feel. I'm breaking more things up on the hi-hat. And for me, it was like, oh yeah, right. You actually should call the drummer that you want to play that 2 and 4 on the hi-hat if you don't want someone, marking the quarter notes that way.
Uh-huh. So can you come up with a couple of like real visceral memories of your time here? With Charlie or with any of the other students, or because everybody is still really like a family. I mean,
Yeah.
so that's a lot of years of stuff. Can you remember anything from that time?
Well, I just walking these halls, there's a memory around each corner.
Yes, there is.
And it's just something beautiful, really, to have that experience, to come back to this school and just again feel so connected to the time that I was here. We were speaking about Charlie and his seriousness, in regard to the music and how we operate as in the world as creative people. When you're young, you don't always recognized the depth of that seriousness. You're still trying to, learn the technical part of it, the ins and outs of your instrument and the theory and everyone wants to sound good, no one wants to sound bad, and you're trying to have fun. Uh, and when you're young, that's the kind of mindset. Charlie had an amazing life and experienced so much within his life, and was trying to communicate so much of that through his music. It takes a minute for a young person to recognize the depth of the seriousness and within what we're being asked to do. He would love to kind of show by example, when he taught,
Always.
and he'd be speaking about a number of things, and you could see him wanting to reach for his bass to kind of finish the thought. But I was here a day when he didn't have his bass with him, so he was kind of looking around the room to see if there were any acoustic bass students there with their acoustic basses, and there weren't. But there was one student who had his electric bass there. So Charlie didn't even think twice. He kind of gestured, for the instrument, and the student handed it to him. And Charlie got on his knees, and he put the electric bass just on the floor like that, and he started to play. And he played with the same, intense focus, spirit, sound, that he would whenever he played. It was uncanny, like what just took place in that moment. And it wasn't him trying to be cute or funny. He was really just trying to, again, illustrate his point. The point that he had in that moment. And he needed his instrument to do that. But really, for me, had transcended the instrument. He was pure music, really.
Absolutely. Well, one memory that I have, I don't know why this just popped into my head, but I remember your audition. And your audition was just you and me. And I had spoken to Charlie and I had spoken to Alice a little bit. and Alice said, yeah, Ravi needs to be there. Right? and we got together and it was just two of us in a room upstairs.
I came here to learn how to play. I came here to learn about improvisation. I'd never really studied before.
Yeah. Well, I remember we talked for quite a while and I could tell, okay, Ravi's really thoughtful and thinking about this. This is not a coincidence. This is very intentional. And after a while I said, so Ravi, what would you like to play? And you said, can we just improvise in D minor? And I said, okay. And we played for 8 or 10 minutes and it was great. You had a lot of gaps mechanically.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
As far as skill and technique.
Yeah.
But there was some beautiful ideas and beautiful sound and the stuff that matters was there. And then I said, that was great, Ravi. What else would you like to do? And you said, well, that's it. And then we accepted you, and you just grew from there. And I can honestly say that over the 40 years that I've known you, every time I hear you, you're better than the last time.
Oh, well, that's good. I like that.
And that's probably the highest compliment, But yeah, but that's kind of representative of what we're talking about. There's a lot of people who audition and they're very impressive, right? But we can't necessarily teach someone how to be original.
Right.
And how to be interesting, right?
Yes.
But if someone is original and interesting, we can help them fill in the mechanical gaps.
I think that's why this school was such a benefit for me, because I came not with the idea of like I'm gonna have a career in music and this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. I came because I was curious, and I had kind of a budding passion for jazz music, and there was a lot of recordings that I had kind of only discovered in my latter teens, and I was getting really turned on by the music, and it's like, maybe let me investigate, playing this music, and So this environment again was just so open and embracing, and really in search of students who, we're not just looking for skills that they can find in other institutions, but the whole sort of palette. Not only what you need to know technically with music, but what you need to know spiritually, and CalArts really provided that. Not only for me, but for all the students. And I can see that's still continuing today.
Mm-hmm. Which is wonderful, and things are always changing and moving forward, but to have that be the constant is really really important. No,
Absolutely.
At CalArts, in the music school, in the institute, everywhere. So can you talk a little bit just about the community of people that you were here with and how close you all still are?
When I started, it was again so eye-opening for me, and life-changing in many ways, just to be around so many creative people, and suddenly feeling around all these like-minded people, and to suddenly feel like you've discovered your people for the first time. It's very inspiring and very energizing, and a lot of that energy just carried over after we all left CalArts. A lot of us moved to New York in the early '90s, and a lot of cats moved back, either left New York. But the cats who stayed, were guys that I did end up, playing lots of gigs with and making recordings together. Guys like Ralph Alessi, James Carney, Michael Caine, Scott Colley. Those were the main guys. I see Marcel.
And I saw David Ake last week.
David Ake, yes, Dave, of course, yeah. And did some things with Lance Dresser, and Marcel Azavros. I see him all the time. There's still a core group of us who still hang out, whether we're working together or not. We still find time to spend together.
And Scott's going to be here today
Scott Carly will
for
be here
our
today.
Charlie Haden Focus afternoon. Yeah. So was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Oh, like the D minor? I think that'll be it.
Well, thank you, Ravi.
Thank you, David. Thanks for everything, brother.